I'm Hugh Hewitt, and a happy Veterans Day to you. Live, I'm bringing you our annual Veterans Day show. I'll be bringing you breaking news as it occurs about the government and all that different stuff. But it is Veterans Day. It is our tradition here to always celebrate by bringing in some of the many clients of the fund, which is the merger of the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund. Now, I don't know how many years they've been going. I think it's 23, and I think I've been doing this for 22 years. I begin the show with a couple of their wonderful staff, Beth Birchfield and Christy Stover. Beth is the Case Management Director on the East Coast. Christy Stover is a Senior Director of Case Management on the West Coast. Getting them together at the same time is wonderful. Ladies, welcome back. A good Veterans Day to you. Beth, let's start with the basics. I get new affiliates every year. First time some people have ever heard about thefund.org. I'll give out all the giving information. The best way to help the fund is to go to thefund.org. But give us a little background on the fund and how it got started and what it does.
Well, we were started from our CEO and founder, Karen Gunther, who was a nurse in California at Balboa, and she was watching our service members come from the battlefield, and sometimes they were recovering alone because their families just couldn't afford to be bedside. So she saw the gap and the need, and her and 5 other Marine Corps spouses put $100 on the table, and today we are the Semper Fi in America's Fund.
And it's a very big fund. Christy, I don't have the numbers in front of me. How many service members have you helped and how much money have you raised? Because it's a staggering amount for what began as 5 ladies around a kitchen table.
It is. We have currently helped over 38,000 service members and over 100,000 family members who belong to those service members. And I actually don't have the figure in front of me, but we're well over $350 million. And we have had the lowest overhead that, it's pennies on the dollar. So about 92 cents of every dollar goes straight to the veterans or a program that supports them.
And Christy, I tell everyone every year, I've been doing this with Wendy Lathine for the first 19 years and with you two for the last 3 or 4. And yep. It's astonishing to me that you are the one of 2, maybe there's 3 now, but I think there are only 2 military charities that have the highest ranking from all the charity watchdogs, which must be a source of great pride for you, because those charity watchdogs drill down hard on expenses and salaries and making sure that the donor's money is well taken care of and spent on the mission.
That's absolutely right. In fact, I think every single case manager, Beth and myself included, we work from home. We have such low overhead. We have a small office on the East Coast and a small office on the West Coast where our grants to our service members are sent from. And everything else, we just trim away everything that we can because we want the veterans to be the beneficiaries of the Americans' generosity.
And Beth, in terms of your case managers, how many are currently on staff? I'm always amazed when I talk to some of the vets, and coming up today, they'll say the same thing. They've had a case manager for a decade or 15 years. It's not even unusual to have someone longer than 15 years. So how many do you have, and where do you find these saints?
So I believe we have over 25 case managers on each coast. So that's probably over 50 total. And once we have a service member, we get kind of territorial because they become part of our family. So we don't give them up. So I've worked with the fund for 10 years and I have my same cases for the last 10 years. And I know case managers that have had their cases for 20 years. They've attended weddings. They've been there for the birth of children. They become our absolute family members. And that's part of what makes the fund special.
Now, my objective today, Beth and Christy, is to make sure people know the wars might be over, Iraq and Afghanistan, but the needs of our wounded veterans are not. So I'd like you to say a little bit about that because I'm going to be talking to some of the people who you continue to help throughout the day today. But let's start with you, Beth. Just expand on that because I know the truth of that, but I'm not sure the audience does.
Right. So just because they were injured in 2004 or even 2019 or 2019, that doesn't mean that the injuries go away. There are prosthetics that have to be redone, or service dogs that have to be retrained, or perhaps as their burn pit exposures start to show some different medical needs. everything is always continuing. And so the VA can't always do everything, and we're there to kind of cover that gap.
And Christy, the most obvious thing that people say, oh yeah, duh, vehicles wear out. Adaptive vehicles that you got in 2005, they can go 10 years. They might go 15 years, but they got to get replaced, and that's not on the VA checklist, is it?
It is not. They get one vehicle grant. And in addition to that, different injuries, just so your audience knows, require different things. It's obvious to say that if somebody is in a wheelchair, they need a wheelchair lift on their vehicle. But there are also those who are wheelchair bound who need hand controls, who might have, because of an amputation, only have a right arm or a left arm or something like that. So the specificity with which each vehicle has to be adapted, it's not the same across the board. And like you say, it's not on the VA checklist. They can't do everything, but they get one vehicle grant. So we are now into doing second and third vehicle grants for some service members who were possibly injured in 2004.
And Christy, let me stay with you for a second. I have an interview coming up today with a service veteran who he spent 30 years in the Marine Corps, and he just called in this year with PTS-related concerns. And so I want the audience to be aware. This is not going to stop being a need, and that's why we're going to do this show for as long as I'm on the air. How many new case managements do you get a year, do you think, in the fund?
Oh my gosh, we get, I'm going to say thousands new cases in a year. And it's not just PTSD. I think it's important to mention, as Beth did, the burn pits that they had specifically in Iraq, because of what was in the burn pits, we now have people coming forward that have catastrophic illnesses being diagnosed. And the toll that takes, not just on the body and the family, but medical technologies have changed. Protocol for treatment of illnesses have changed. So if somebody lives in Wisconsin and they go to the hospital at MD Anderson in Houston, that's a lot of flights. It's a lot of hotel. It's a caregiver going with them. The cost never goes away once somebody is injured from war.
And I'm glad to have you put it that directly. Beth, let's talk about fundraising now that the war is over in the civilian mind. Fundraising getting harder, or is it about the same with the immediacy removed from the headlines?
I mean, I think that we have been truly blessed with amazing supporters, such as your listeners, and we have been able to sustain our fundraising. We also are currently doing our match. Bob and Renee Parsons
Good.
and PX, they are doing the match again this year, up to 7.5 million. He will match dollar for dollar. So we've been extremely blessed to have our donors. Your amazing listeners have raised almost $1 million for us, and that's over 5,000 individual donations. So a huge shout out and an amazing thank you to your listeners.
Well, it's a good audience, but it's a new audience. I've changed time zones. I've added stations, lost stations. We're on the Salem News Channel now. So if they've never heard of the fund.org, I want them to understand this is something they can also find on their combined federal campaign. And we're in CFC season, Beth. How important is it for people to find the fund in their CFC or their United Way brochure?
It is extremely important. And Christy has that number.
I do. It's
Christy, what's the number?
11459. CFC 11459.
CFC 11459. I did my OPM duties in the Reagan years, so it's been a long time, but I know the combined federal campaign it matters a lot. It matters a lot. Tell me about how people can get involved. Are you still doing the events? Whatever someone comes up with, you're open to hearing about it.
We absolutely are. We have the community relations office that does amazing things. Just as you have always said for our donors, we're at www.thefund.org. And if people are interested in having a fundraiser, they can go there. We have a banner at the top of the page with a drop-down menu. We also have service members who find us that way, who need assistance. And I will also say that if somebody wants to become a volunteer, you can sign up right there on that same page.
And Beth, I've never asked this question before, but it's now, we got 1 minute left, and we'll come back at the end of the show, and I'll make sure I give the snail mail and the phone number, but thefund.org is the best place to go. Beth, are you serving survivors of veterans who've died now?
We do. As Christy stated earlier, we have assisted 100,000 family members. And so, although our focus will always be on the recovery efforts for the service member, we would never forget about our Gold Star families. So, we do support them as much as we can in their time of need.
I had no doubt about that answer, but I've never asked it before, and it occurred to me it's a new question as we get older and longer into the fund's amazing record. I'll be back with Beth and Christy at the end of today's program. We got a half dozen veterans willing to talk to us today, so do not miss any of those. And I'll bring you the news as we go along as well. On this Veterans Day, good Tuesday to you. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I've got laryngitis. I took off for Little Rock on Friday, did an event with 101 FM and the Americans for Prosperity on Saturday in Little Rock. Then on Sunday, it was off to Manchester, New Hampshire, to do an event last night for the Josiah Bartlett Center. And along the way, I picked up laryngitis. I feel great. My back is healed, but I have no complaints because you listen to some of my testimonies from these veterans. You don't have any problems. I don't have any problems. First up, and I taped this on Thursday, United States Marine Corps Sergeant Major Kevin Wiss. Let's hear from the Sergeant Joined now by Sergeant Major Kevin Wiss. Sergeant Major, welcome. I think you're in Oceanside, if I'm not mistaken. Is that where I find you today?
I am definitely in Oceanside today.
Well, I know it because I married a girl from Fallbrook whose dad was last stationed at Oceanside, so I drove through your hometown many, many times when I lived out west, and I'm glad to have you. My sketch sheet says you served 30 years in the Marine Corps?
Yes, I did. 30 long years. Well, kind of short if you think about it.
Thank you. I haven't had a 30-year vet before, and I appreciate it. How has the fund been of help to you with dealing with after the Corps life?
The biggest problem is to ask for help, in which you figure after 30 years, no one's going to ask for help. I think it was my first doctor's appointment after I got out, and my doctor says, hey, you have PTSD, in which I could have said, yes, I already knew that. But it took me probably about 5 years to figure out that I had a problem.
But you had deployed everywhere. I've got my sketch here. Operation Southern Watch, Operation Iraqi Freedom, 2 tours, 3 tours in Operation Enduring Freedom. You must have seen other people with PTS, but you didn't see it in yourself?
I didn't, because I had to portray a person that had to be a little bit stronger than everybody else.
And so once you came to that recognition, what did the fund do for you?
So the way I found out about the fund is I never knew anything about the fund up until about earlier this year, when they came and they talked to us at Aspire Center, which is a PTSD center in San Diego Old Town. And I just started asking questions about it. And he said, I can't remember who the gentleman was, and I apologize, but he said, hey, give us an email, look us up and find out what we're all about. And I did. And so far, I faced my fears. I've been able to get out of my shell. I don't isolate much anymore. I mean, heck, I even ran a half marathon and 10 miles, and that would have been unseen of, 10 months ago.
Wow. That's fabulous to hear. But when I first found out about the fund, it was at Camp Pendleton. They had opened up the Wounded Warrior Battalion there in 2004, 2005. I can't remember when, and Wendy Lathine took me over there. And I would have thought by the time you left the Corps, you would have known all about it, because you basically lived the last 25 years of our war, and it didn't occur. You didn't know about the fund.
I did know, but the funny thing is I had a hat and it said Simplify Fund on it. But I never knew about it. I knew about the Wounded Warrior Project. I knew about some of the other things. There's like catchalift.org, some other associations that help out vets and everything. But like I said, I always thought that I was above that. And it just took me, I guess, not really crying out, but saying, hey, I need help. Finally saying, you know what, let go of your weaknesses and your strengths and all that stuff and just give in.
I'm so glad you're saying this on the air to everyone else who's out there and wondering whether or not to speak up. What do you say to those veterans Sergeant Major, who may be struggling and may be thinking about asking for help?
I was in the same position about a year ago. I had probably like the darkest moments that I can think of. Not necessarily rock bottom, but I called in. I finally said, you know what, I've had enough. I've had enough of the drinking. I've had enough of the being lonely. I've had enough of that, like these thoughts that I'd had in my head. And I was like, I got to be stronger than this because I have, 3 boys. I got a girlfriend. She's got her kids and now grandkids. And I got to be strong for everybody. But they got to be strong for me too. And which, if it wasn't for my girlfriend Araceli pushing me to do this, I probably would still be sitting on my couch, doing the same thing I was doing a year ago. And just to be able to finally say, I give up. Not saying I give up, I surrender. I'm never going to say that. But I need help. And
well, I'm very glad you did. Help. And how'd the 10-miler go? I mean, you've been out of the Corps a while. How'd that 10-miler feel?
My time was about an hour and 44 minutes, and then they have this clock time and this other time. So it actually gave me a time of 100 or an hour and 24 minutes, which I was like, you know what? I ran really fast, but actually it was an hour and 40 minutes.
It's still a pretty good time. Sergeant Major, who is your caseworker, and how's that relationship developing? Because most of the veterans I talk to have had some relationship with the fund. Love them. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they have them for 15, 20 years.
So my caseworker is Claire Whitlock. I've never met her. I thought I was going to be able to meet her in Washington, D.C. when we were doing the 10-miler, but she had something else that came up. I reached out to Claire. Well, Claire first reached out to me, and, just right away, just the sincerity, that they're looking out for my best interests and, the best interest for the whole organization and the fund. I had a really, really rough patch where I had to pay a lot of money this year for taxes. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make my mortgage payment. And she helped me out, and I made that mortgage payment. I just started school again. I had a computer to like 6 years old. Not really even asking for it. I got a new computer. And now I'm using, I was trying to use this computer to call you, but, now I'm using this to finish off my degree, which I, stopped doing for the last 2-3 years.
Well, good for you. That is terrific. I just want to thank you again on Veterans Day for 30 years of service as a Marine, and especially for 10 minutes of your time to make this direct point to people who are listening who are veterans that the fund is there for them, and not to sit on the couch and think to themselves, but to make the phone call and look for the help. Sergeant Major, thank you. Have a great Veterans Day with your boys and your family. And I want to tell you, the easiest thing to do is go to thefund.org. I'll give you the number after the break. Time for my relief factor. I came back from New Hampshire with laryngitis, caught the plane at 6 a.m., got up at 3:30 to make it, and caught the weather up there as well. I'm setting up my exploratory committee up there. But there's my Karen Kerman resveratrol and Omega. I'm taking it right now. I'm here to tell you, no matter what I sounded like last week, my back pain is gone. I took my relief factor with me, and I'm here to say it does work. You got to give it a try. 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief. 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief. Look for the starter pack, $19.95. If you've got minor aches and pains, back, neck, shoulder, whatever, give Relief Factor 3 weeks to try and fix it for you. It helps your body's anti-inflammatory system. 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief. Or go to their website, relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. That starter pack at $19.95 is there. It's less than $1 a day at relieffactor.com. 5 members of the Executive Council. We had ex-Governor Chris Sununu. We had former Senator John Sununu, former Senator Scott Brown. They're running against each other for the Senate again. And school board member. It was great fun. But the first plane back was 6 a.m. to the Beltway, and I grabbed it, so I left the hotel about 3:45 and brought home laryngitis with me, but I'll get through it. I've got a lot to tell you in between my conversations with the wounded warriors, the vets, who've been helped out by thefund.org on this Veterans Day. Do want to give you the phone number for the Semper Fi Fund and for the fund.org. 760-725-3680. Or you can say on the check, if you write a check the old-fashioned way, put Hugh Hewitt in the comment section and send it to 825 College Boulevard, Suite 102, PMB Peter Mary Baker, 609, Oceanside, California, 92057. And you federal employees will get paid next week, finally. Democrats caved in last night after midnight. The combined federal campaign will run. This fund is 11459. Now let's go over and hear what Donald Trump said about Chuck Schumer after they broke. The Democrats broke and ran. Cut number 9.
He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or they're just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But, we have just great policy. We have good people. They have some good people, too. I know a lot of Democrats. They're not all crazy. They're not all. But you have some that are absolutely terrible. I look at this Crockett. This is a very low IQ person. And I look at somebody that comes from Somalia where they don't have anything. They don't have police. They don't have military. They don't have anything. All they have is crime. And she comes in and tells us how to run our country. The Constitution says this, the Constitution. The whole thing is crazy. I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian. And it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
Now, that is about as rough as you can get. You've lost your talent. Let me tell you about Americans for a Balanced Budget. Stop Healthcare, healthcosthikes.com, sponsor of the show. Everybody should know that the pretend excuse for the shutdown was Obamacare subsidies. $1.5 trillion worth. That's too much money by a lot. There are some targeted subsidies. There are some targeted tax credits that Republicans support and should support for middle and low income people who have been screwed by Obamacare, and there are a lot of them. We don't want to be giving away tax credits to people making $200,000, $300,000 a year. That's ridiculous. They can buy their health care on the exchanges. They can join a firm that has group health insurance. But we do want tax credits for people who absolutely need them and screwed by the system. They didn't get to keep their doctor. They didn't get to keep their plan. President Obama lied to them. Nancy Pelosi lied to them. Chuck Schumer lied to them, and they're screwed. So Americans for a Balanced Budget has a plan. Go and look at it. StopHealthCostHikes.com. It's got to go through the Appropriations Committee. It's going to be under the direction of Senator Susan Collins and Leader Thune. They'll work out something fair. Democrats will want that $1.5 trillion. They're not getting $1.5 trillion. There will be a vote on their ridiculous program, and then they'll get to work on the real program. Be a part of that. StopHealthCostHikes.com. Can you remember that even though my voice was like half there? StopHealthCostHikes.com. Let me also tell you about AndrewandTodd.com with Union Home Mortgage. 888-888-1172. If you've got to buy a house, no matter where you are in the United States, do it with AndrewandTodd.com. 888-888-1172. Whether you're a vet, you don't want to put any money down. First-time home buyer, you want to do FHA, that'll be open again and writing loans very soon. You're a senior citizen, you got to get money out of your house, but you don't want to pay another mortgage payment ever again. AndrewandTodd.com do reverse mortgages. If you are looking for a home equity line of credit, or you want to go to an adjustable rate, or you want to just buy your first house, Andrew Del Rey and Todd Avakian will get it done for you. AndrewandTodd.com, 888-888-1172. That's 888-888-1172. Thousands of my listeners have used them over the years. You should be the next one. Call 888-888-1172. I'm Hugh Hewitt with laryngitis, but always here for the Veterans Day show for our veterans. Always run a fundraiser this day for the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund. The easiest way to contribute. They've served 38,000 wounded warriors over the course of 23 years. And we've done 19 or 20 years worth of these shows, and $5, $25, $50. One time someone sent in $100,000. Thank you. Anonymous, by the way, anonymous giver. You can go to thefund.org. That's the easiest way to contribute. You can call 760-725-3680, and I will give the snail mail address at the end of the hour. President Trump, and I will have more conversations with wounded warriors coming up. But Donald Trump did give a Veterans Day speech today. I want you to hear some parts of it. Cut number 10.
Today we remember with overwhelming gratitude the more than 1 million American service members who have made the supreme sacrifice and laid down their lives for the good old USA. Generation after generation, America's warriors have left behind the comforts of home and family to face violence, evil, and death so that our families could know joy, goodness, and peace. We honor them so strongly. Our heroes have lived through unthinkable nightmares so we could live the American dream. And the American dream is coming back again, stronger than ever before. And you'll see that as the next few years evolve. They have volunteered to give their last breaths to all of us so that we could breathe free. And today we know without any doubt in our hearts that after 2.5 centuries, America stands tall because America's veterans stood so strong.
Let's go then to cut number 11.
For World War I Victory Day, you know, I was recently at an event and I saw France was celebrating Victory Day, but we didn't. And I saw France was celebrating another Victory Day for World War II. And other countries were celebrating. They were all celebrating. We're the one that won the wars. And I said, from now on, we're going to say Victory Day for World War I and World War II. And we could do for plenty of other wars, but we'll start with those two. Maybe someday somebody else will add a couple of more because we won a lot of good ones. But when I see other countries celebrating Victory Day, I watched it. I watched UK, I watched Russia. They were celebrating Victory Day, World War II. And I said, we got to have a Victory Day. Nobody even talked about it in our country. But from now on, we're going to be celebrating Victory Day for World War I, for World War II, and frankly, for everything else. Under the Trump administration, we're restoring the pride and the winning spirit of the United States military. That's why we have officially renamed the Department of Defense back to the original name, Department of War. And remember, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything in between, we won everything that came before. And then we brilliantly decided to change the name of this great thing that we all created together. And we became politically correct. We don't like being politically correct. So we're not going to be politically correct anymore. From now on, when we fight a war, we only fight for one reason, to win. We fight to win.
He went on. I'll play more of it for you as we go along. I do want to comment for a moment on the 8 Democrats who voted late last night to open the government. It passed 60-40. They had 8 Democrats. Senators Cortez Masto is up in 28, not 26. Senator Maggie Hassan is up in 28, not 26. Jackie Rosen is up in 30, not 26. Tim Kaine is up in 30, not 26. John Fetterman is up in 28, but he's one of the good guys. He voted to open the government all the time. Angus King is up in 30. He's one of the good guys. He voted to open the government all the time. The other ones are all retiring. Dick Durbin. So the people who took the bullet for the Democrats, maybe they'll protect the other Democrats. I don't know. This is No Kings organizer Ezra Levin. Now, to be a No Kings organizer requires a stencil and a piece of paper and a magic marker. That's what it is. But he's mad. Here he is, cut number 16.
Look, we are launching the largest primary program in the history of Indivisible in response to the surrender by Senate Democrats last night. This is not a place we hope to go. The Republicans were on the ropes. Our approval ratings were going up. The public was behind the demands. And we had the largest peaceful protest in American history, followed by the best election night in a decade plus. In response to all that, suddenly they surrender. They capitulate entirely. It's been a year of us trying to convince them to fight back against the regime. I don't think they're going to be convinced. I think the only thing that is going to build the kind of unified opposition party that fights back is going to be primaries. So we are getting into primaries. With the Senate, it's very clear. One of the demands is do you support Chuck Schumer for Senate leadership? If you do, you're not on our list. We're not going to support you for a Senate seat. I think it's a mistake to just look at the 8 Democrats in the Senate who voted for this capitulation and say those were the only problems. That's not true. This was an orchestrated event. This was some kabuki theater. They looked at the number they needed, which was 8. They looked at who was retiring and who is not up for re-election. They said, okay, you guys, you take the vote for this. You take the fall, you take the heat because you're not up for re-election. So ask yourself, why did Tim Kaine vote to capitulate, but Mark Warner, who's up for re-election, not vote to capitulate? Why did Michael Bennet vote against this, but Hickenlooper, who is up for re-election, not vote for this? The reason is clear. They want to fool their own voters.
Stop for a second. Michael Bennet did not vote for it. I don't like Michael Bennet. But this tells you a little bit about Ezra Levin. He doesn't get his facts right. Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, Dick Durbin, John Fetterman, Maggie Hassan, Janine Shaheen, Tim Kaine, and Angus King. So this guy didn't even have his basic facts right. And it doesn't matter who he's for or who he's against. He's a nobody. Try running into the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. They want to get to 51. They're not going to get to 51 with knuckleheads like this running around. He doesn't understand what parties have to do. He doesn't understand that they were not buckling. They didn't understand that their numbers were going down. Apparently, he doesn't even watch CNN. He's a knucklehead. But we're not going to let him ruin our Veterans Day. I'm going to remind you, with more interviews coming up, that today is the day we honor veterans, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, anyone who served in uniform. God bless you. And if you believe that, if you agree with me, go to thefund.org and make a contribution to take care of the 38,000 wounded warriors they've been helping since the long war began in 2001. Coming up in hour number 2 of my Veterans Day special, Corpsman Tyler Burdick, Major Ivan Castro, Army Specialist Darnell Duggar. Do not miss any of these wonderful guys who've been helped out by the fund. Remember, you go to thefund.org to contribute to the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund, taking care of all the wounded veterans of the long wars. Generalissimo.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk to you about 2 things. MyHotGrill.com.
Used it last night.
BestHotGrill.com.
Used it last night.
You did use Best Hot Grill last night.
Absolutely.
What'd you cook up?
4 Costco fillets, and they were magnificent.
Costco fillets are fabulous.
They are the best things in the world.
I think to get to be a Costco cow, I don't think John Campbell can grow a Costco cow, if you ask me.
I don't think so, no.
But did you have medium? Did you have well done? Did you have rare?
They were perfectly medium. I mean, absolute to the money, to the degree medium.
So how long does it take your BestHotGrill.com to do absolutely a perfect medium?
About 9 minutes.
See, I'm a medium well guy, so it really doesn't matter with me. So,
basically, it's you do a crisscross pattern. You sear the outside for about 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Flip them, and then you turn them crossways so they get a nice crosshatch pattern, sear pattern on the outside. And then you put them up
like
on
that. We got a picture of Dwayne's grill right there. So, Dwayne, I meant to ask you.
Yeah.
You know that hibachi that I say is the best Christmas gift ever?
Yeah.
You could give one of those to me.
Why? Why do you need one?
Well, I haven't gotten a Christmas present in 25 years from you, so I'm just thinking, Best Hot Grill hibachi. Yeah, just thinking about that.
If we're gonna go down
just
that
thinking
road,
about
okay,
that.
that's fine.
I'm just thinking that way. Don't.
Harley
not
even has
not
one.
an ask.
Harley
not
even
an
has
ask.
one.
I do want to ask you though about myPhDweightloss.com. 864-644-1900.
That's 864.
644-1900. I usually do Best Hot Grill and myPhDweightloss.com together because they go together like champagne and roses.
Yes, absolutely. Like Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, like Christmas trees and ornaments.
Yes.
Because if you have a Best Hot Grill, you can eat the diet that myPhDweightloss.com recommends much more. Is that why you had the Best Hot Grill out last night? You're back on myPhD Weight Loss?
Absolutely. Protein.
Protein, 864.
644.
1900. And did you call into Ruby?
No. Is that her name now? Is Ruby?
I never remember her name, your counselor. Isabel?
Yeah, Isabel. Yeah, Ruby. Isabel. I think her name is Brittany.
No, that's right. It is Brittany. I remember that. It's Brittany. And so have you called in and told her you're shooting for 60?
No, I haven't. Why would I tell her that?
Send her this ad. Then she'll know, oh my gosh, I got to call him more often. My PhD weight loss. Because then you have to take in all your clothes again. That makes me happy.
Oh.
MyPhDweightloss.com, 864 1900, or go to besthotgrill.com, which can be considered a step in the My PhD weight loss program, because then you have the best grill
together.
Made in America.
They do go together.
Besthotgrill.com. Coming right back with three amazing veterans of the Long War, been helped by thefund.org. Stay tuned, America. On Veterans Day, I'm Hugh Hewitt. Joined now by Corpsman Tyler Burdick, and I don't know whether ever to call him Corpsman, Navy or Marine. Tyler, welcome. Happy Veterans Day to you. Do I call you a Marine or a Navy guy?
Oh, I guess I identify more as a Marine. I was a lot of people don't realize that the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, and the medical side of the Marine Corps are manned by naval personnel, hospital corpsmen. So yeah, I don't know. I am a sailor. I'm a petty officer, I suppose, but I definitely identify more as a Marine. I served with 3rd Battalion, 6 Marines. From
every Marine I've ever met loved their corpsman, and so I am very aware of that. And so thank you for joining us today. Where do we find you?
I'm in Salt Lake City, Hugh. Utah.
Oh, very cool. Well, that would explain why they tell me you're quite the snowboard guy. We'll get to that in a second. First, tell us how were you injured, where and when?
Yes, sir. So July 10th, July 22nd, 2010, I was deployed to 3rd Battalion, 6 Marines in Marja, Afghanistan. That's in the southern part of Afghanistan in the Helmand province. And we were there as part of one of the largest airborne helicopter assaults since Vietnam, Operation Mustarak. And it was a huge operation. We were there from January through the end of July of 2010. Towards the end of the very end of my deployment, we were just in the last few days during what we call the RIP, the relief in place, I think is the acronym. But the next unit is coming in to take over our area of operations. And we were showing their leadership around the AO, introducing them to the key leaders and pointing out to them some of the areas of high interest in that village. And we were headed down a road in a convoy. We were in some MRAPs, some armored trucks, and we found an IED the wrong way. It detonated right underneath my vehicle. Myself, Lance Corporal Del Freight in the driver's seat. We had another corpsman in the back, Petty Officer Reichowitz, and our turret gunner, Landon Tynes. We all got rocked pretty hard by that explosion. Nobody was killed in our vehicle. The Marines around us engaged the enemy. It was a complex ambush and attack. So they blew our truck up with an IED and then opened fire on us with machine guns and RPGs. It was a pretty exciting few minutes, but the Marines did what they do best. And they engaged the enemy, drove them off, and we got the medevac, myself and the rest of the guys in my truck. Got us all out and back home, safe and sound.
Corpsman, I'm wondering, Petty Officer Burdick, if they blew up all the corpsmen, who took care of you in the golden hour, the hour that you got to get to the serious medical people, or it's bad?
My Marines did most of the work. I was pretty lucid, and conscious and coherent during the incident, and I gave a little bit of advice when needed, but for the most part, we cross-train. As corpsmen with the Marines, we learn how to do most, if not everything, that the Marines do, and we also teach as many of the Marines we can, as much medical information as we can. So we're all cross-trained. We can all kind of do each other's jobs, and my Marines, they they just got right to business and patched me up. My legs, so I'm a double amputee. I didn't lose my legs right away. My lower legs were pulverized. I mean, they looked like wet noodles, I guess. And they were able to just splint me up, so I was in less pain, and helped me administer my morphine, and same with the other guys. We patched everybody up. But the Marines know what they were doing. They took good care of me.
So when did you lose your legs? How long was it between the explosion and your being wounded and the decision that they had to amputate your legs?
That was about 4 years. So I began the amputation process in the fall or the winter of 2014 and 15. I amputated one leg in around September of 2014 and did the other leg in January of 2015. Kind of so I had at least one leg to kind of crutch around on. I wasn't ready to be in a wheelchair all the time. In the house that I was living in wasn't exactly wheelchair conducive. So
tell the audience about the next 10 years, Corman.
Sure, yeah.
How did the recovery go after
and
that?
That kind of came about. I just come back from my first Winter Paralympics in Sochi. That was the first time snowboarding was in the Paralympic Games. And I was having a lot of pain and went into the VA, and they established that I needed another reconstructive surgery on my feet. And I'd been through a half dozen or so reconstructions. And a lot of the guys who had amputated or lost their legs right away were all doing quite a bit better than I was. So that seemed the way to go. So I amputated. And about a year later, I was back on my snowboard, got back on the U.S. team, continued racing for a few years, made it to Beijing. I just missed the cut for Korea in 2018, but made the cut to go to Beijing and compete. However, I because of the COVID, I had a positive COVID test, and I ended up missing one of my main event in Beijing, and I arrived for the second event. There's two events in Paris snowboard now: bank slalom and snowboard cross. And I missed the snowboard.
So how
cross,
did the fun? How did the fun help you out? How did the fund help you out through all these years? What's their role in your recovery?
Thanks for asking that and kind of bringing me back. So the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund have been there with me since the very beginning. From the day that I got back to the U.S., I was at the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, and I met my case manager, June Cartmill, for the very first time. She's still my case manager 15 years later. We talk regularly. In fact, I was just at a veterans retreat with her and San Antonio and a bunch of other double lower limb amputees. And it really struck me, like, of the 17 of us that were there, I think at least 8 of us have been one of June's guys for the last 10 or 15 years. We all got hurt right around the same time, 2010, 2011, all in Afghanistan. There was a lot of combat.
Are they all athletes? I mean, you're a world-class athlete. Were you
together
a lot
with
of them
are.
world-class
Some of
athletes?
them have played sled hockey and have been involved in other adaptive sports. I don't think any of them had made it up to the Paralympic level yet, but I know a couple of them are trying, particularly in sledge hockey. And but June and the fund have been there. I mean, every step of the way. They helped my family come be with me in the hospital after I'd blown up. They helped me navigate the disability process and retiring from the military and accessing my VA benefits. They've helped me utilize my GI Bill benefits. They've helped me with equipment and training fees during the decade that I was racing on Team USA or trying to get on Team USA. And I just, I can't say enough about how instrumental Semper Fi and America's Fund have been in my recovery and still are to this day. And in fact, I came down with another infection in my leg after Beijing and was in a wheelchair for the better part of a year, and I didn't have a vehicle I could drive, and so really those last 2 years, the Semper Fi Fund has been really active in my daily life, and just trying to deal with these life-changing injuries that my feet aren't ever going to
Corman,
grow
I
back.
tell the audience every Veterans Day that the fund is reliable, that there's no red tape, and that the caseworkers are amazing. Any reason for me to change? I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm always amazed by their caseworkers staying with their wounded warriors for decades, and I don't think
No,
it'll ever
Hugh,
change.
keep
You have
saying it.
confidence?
In fact, yeah, keep saying it. Say it even more. It impresses me that so many years. I mean, we're a decade and a half since I got dragged off the battlefield, and the fund is still doing everything in their power. It blows my mind, the amount of support, the amount of resource, and just like you said, there's no red tape. Anytime I need something, I reach out to June, and she takes care of it. And I never even guess if she's going to get it done or how long it's going to take. It's within a few days, maybe even the same day. June has all the information I need and all the answers I want to hear. And it's, I don't know what I would do without Semper Fi and America's Fund. They pick up.
I can't improve on that. I cannot improve on that, Corman. Petty Officer Tyler Burdick, have a great Veterans Day. Thank you for showing up and telling the world about the fund, because much better than a civilian can do, and you are the proof positive that the fund.org should get all the support that we hope it does. Thank you for your service, and thank you for joining me today. Major Ivan Castro, retired United States Army. Major Castro, did we get you on the phone?
I am here, Mr. Hewitt. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you do, not only to keep us informed, but also for our veterans and our military men and women in uniform and their families.
I feel awfully silly having you thank me, Major. Let me give people a little bit of background on you, because it's so astonishing. Your service sheet here that I've got in front of me is just astonishing. You were wounded in combat in 2006, hit by a mortar round. You lost your sight. And you then continued to serve as one of 3 blind active duty officers in the Army for a decade. You retired from the Army in 2016, but what I find amazing, you're the only blind officer who served in the United States Army Special Forces. Before we get to your recovery and how the fund helped you out, the fund.org, what did you do for Special Forces after you lost your eyesight, Major?
Believe it or not, I worked recruiting men and women inside Special Forces. And also I provided support to the families of those that were injured, the service members, and really played an active role in supporting the men and women downrange by resupplying them with equipment and men and material that they needed. And even though a unit is deployed, there's still activities and functions, missions that need to be taking place by that unit back here in on post on the installation. So I wanted to deploy with the unit. Unfortunately, there was a mission that needed to be taking place back here, and I was very blessed to take up that role of supporting those that came back injured, those that came back deceased, supporting the family members and just helping the men and women that were back here.
That's remarkable, Major. I'm also told that you're quite a runner. I'm going to get into that in a second. But I devote most of Tuesday's show. It's a live show. It's Veterans Day, but I'm in studio that day. I'll be talking to a lot of your friends and fellow service members who've been assisted by the fund.org over the last 20-odd years of war. How did the fund help you after you lost your eyesight?
It was by pure coincidence that I came across the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund. It was by another veteran that told me about it. I was getting ready to compete in the national championships in the Paralympics for cycling, and my bike was a little bit outdated, and my friend said, you know what, there's a foundation that could probably help us bring this bike up to speed so we could be competitive on the road, and he told me about the Simplify Fund and America's Fund, and made a phone call, provided with the proper paperwork, and without a hesitation at all, they paid for those parts and labor, and then that was it. From there on, they've been with me and my family forever. They haven't lost track of me, and my case manager, Beth Cooling, who is amazing, truly amazing. She answers the phone, and if not, you'll get a call immediately. And it's the little things, right, that goes a long ways. In Christmas, a wreath that goes on the door that every time I approach my door, it's a fresh wreath. I can smell it because I'm totally blind. It's a Christmas ornament that goes on the tree. It might be a gift card. It might be a meal for Thanksgiving. It's so many little things that will go a long way. It's a Christmas card. It's a card or a gift certificate for.
Well, I'm hoping everyone who's listening will tune in on Tuesday, because I got a half dozen service members like the Major who are going to give their testimony. But I got to find out about the National Paracycling Tandem Team. You're pretty extraordinary, Major. I should have known that because you were Special Forces when you lost your sight in Iraq. And I should have assumed that your recovery would include sort of excelling at something. But how does paracycling work? I know how blind runners run marathons. I've seen them. I've run alongside of them. They run with a partner. But how does paracycling work?
I'm in a tandem, so it's one bike with two seats. I have a captain up front or a pilot, and I'm what's called a stoker in the back. And so we're both working together. And just like in the military, work together in unison, right, to move forward.
What do you got? Thighs that are the size of, hammocks? Are they just giants?
My thighs?
Yeah.
Not regular thighs.
Okay.
Thighs.
How many miles a week do you cycle, Major?
I like to get at least each ride 60 miles every time I get on the bike. But when I can, it's sometimes hard to find a pilot. It's hard to find someone to get up front. But sometimes I need about 3 or 4 pilots in order to ensure a ride or two a week.
And you also have these marathons. How many marathons have you run since you lost your eyesight, Major?
I don't know. I really lost count. After, I know it's over 50. I really lost count. I don't know. I got a bucket over there with all the medals, and I keep my bibs, my numbers, where I write in the back of it the date, the time, and who I ran it with, and what was significant about that race. But,
well, you're making us all feel like slugs, but I want to thank you for getting us in the mood for Veterans Day so that people know it's a holiday in many places and they don't really remember why. That's why we do the Veterans Show, the wars being over and everything. But Major, I appreciate you're taking the time to join me today. I'm going to replay this on Tuesday and let everyone know about the fund.org. Do they always deliver, Major? We've got about a minute left here. Do they always deliver?
Always. They always deliver. They always, without a doubt, they're always there. And one thing I want to tell you, none of these accomplishments that I've done, the races, marathons, or the cycling, was done by myself. All along my life, I've had a team, someone by my side to guide me, help me. And Simplify Fund and America's Fund is still here for our veterans and their families. So they're there to help, to assist, to support, and to encourage, and they do it with pride, right, and with honor. And
Absolutely.
So I pledge my commitment to them, and they have a great board, a great staff, and I want them to continue on to serve not only the veterans now, but those who are coming behind me. And so I'm here for them.
I have no doubt that they will. You're one of 38,000 veterans they've served. and they have raised and invested in our veterans $350 million, and so we devote a lot of Tuesday's show to that. A little bit laryngitis challenge today. I want to give you the backstory. More than 20 years ago, my friend Richard Botkin, a Marine, took me down to Camp Pendleton to introduce me to his buddy Clark Lathine, who was Chief of Staff to General Mattis. And then Clark took me over to the simulator to prepare Marines to go to Iraq. And then he took me by the Wounded Warrior Battalion, where I met his wife, Wendy Lathine, one of the founders of the then Semper Fi Fund. And the Semper Fi Fund was put together by 5 women around a kitchen table in San Diego saying, we've got to do something that more than the Corps and the VA is doing for these wounded Marines. So they started the Semper Fi Fund. Then they expanded it to America's Fund to cover all the services. Then they put it all under the fund.org. And ever since then, every Veterans Day and Memorial Day, I devote most, if not all, the show to alerting you to the existence of the fund and asking you to help by going to thefund.org. Listen now to Army Specialist Darnell Duggar. Joined now by Army Specialist Darnell Duggar. Good to see you, Darnell. Where do we find you today? Because you got a hat on. I'm assuming you're somewhere in the South.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Hugh. I'm in Georgia. My farm is in Griffin, Georgia.
Well, I'm very sorry they don't have any college football in Georgia, but I'm glad to have you anyway. Darnell, when were you injured, and how did the fund help you?
Yeah, so I was injured in 2011, and I got separated from the military in 2011. So the fund has helped me to increase my business. It provided me the resources to, buy equipment and things that I need to increase my business, which is a farm business.
They told me you were in the apprenticeship program, and over the years I've had a variety of different people doing a variety of different businesses. What kind of farming are you in, and how are they helping you learn it?
Absolutely. So I run a dual use sheep farm where I raise a sheep for lamb meat with a small meat processing facility, and I also do what's called solo grazing. The industry is called agrivoltaics, where it runs agriculture production with solar production. I do that by using sheep as a solar vegetation management, where they maintain the vegetation under the solar panels on the solar farm, right? So the Semper Fi Fund has helped me to get to conventions, to network, conventions that are thousands of dollars, to meet the folks that I need to network with, to get contracts for my sheep to graze. And this allows me to raise more sheep on land that I do not have to buy, right? So in the long term of things, it helps out the local farmer in those means. And the Semper Fi Fund has helped me increase education.
How'd you connect with them? How'd they find you?
The Semper Fi Fund, or?
Yes, the fund.
Yeah. So I applied through the Semper Fi Fund just through a local veteran organization called Farmer Veteran Coalition, and they encouraged me to apply for that apprenticeship program.
And what kind of service does that help you with? I know that they provide you some monetary grants, but have you got a mentor in farming, in grazing, and all this different stuff?
Yes. So actually, my case manager with the Semper Fi Fund, he comes from a family farm, so it is a excellent partnership with the Semper Fi Fund. So he is my mentor in many aspects of the farming business itself.
And last question, I always like to ask veterans, is there red tape, or are they a call and discuss and action group?
They are absolutely 100% action group. I cannot advocate enough of that. They have been a critical piece to growing my business and other veterans as well. I share that all the time.
So, Darnell, is there a website? Is there a website for your business, or is this something you have to do farmer to farmer?
Yes, so I do have a website that is acreandherd.com. So my ranch is
cool.
The name of it is Acre and Herd Ranch. Mm-hmm.
Acreandherd.com. Well, yes. Darnell Duggar, thank you very much for this, and testimony like this for the fund helps our audience understand on Veterans Day exactly what it does and for the variety of different things that they help veterans. I appreciate your taking the time. Have a great Veterans Day.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you for having me on your show.
And I want to spell out Acre and herd.com for the Steelers fans. ACREANDHERD. Acreandherd.com. When we come back, I'll continue to talk with veterans. But remember, the fund can be found online, thefund.org. You can call them at 760-725-3680, 760-725-3680. Their snail mail is 825 College Boulevard, Suite 102, PMB 609, Peter Mary Baker 609, Oceanside, California 92057. And remember this, their CFC number, 11459. I'm Hugh Hewitt with laryngitis. Byron York doesn't have it, I hope. Byron had to wave off special report tonight because I can't talk, so I'm going to ask you to do most of the talking, but I'm going to tell you first, I was in New Hampshire last night at the Josiah Bartlett annual dinner. I've never seen 250 people where every other person's a state legislator. We had former Senator Scott Brown, former Senator John Sununu. They were not sitting at the same table. Former Governor Chris Sununu. It was just a fabulous time. Did you ever go up to New Hampshire except in the presidential years?
Most of the time it has been in the presidential years.
Oh, it's fab. Everyone lives, breathes, eats, drinks politics. I loved it. So, Byron, the Democrats caved last night. They didn't even give themselves a week-long victory lap on Tuesday night, and now they're shooting at each other. How mad are they at each other?
Well, they're extremely mad. Obviously, you have these 8 Democrats who sided with the Republicans to actually open the government, who, in other words, broke with the Democratic filibuster to stop the opening of the government. So you have those, and but none of them are running. Either they're retiring or they're not up for re-election in 2026. There's something interesting going on. I'm sure you've seen this. There appears to be an argument brewing among Democrats over why they shut the government down.
Yes.
And they don't agree with each other on why they did what they did. Now, if you listen to them, as you did for 41 days, they said it was about health care, that Republicans are going to take away the health care of millions of Americans, and Democrats had to shut down the government to stop Republicans from doing that. I mean, they said that thousands of times a day. So yesterday comes a column in the New York Times by Ezra Klein, who has talked to quite a few Democrats, and they tell him, no, it wasn't about health care. It wasn't about health. It was about stopping Trump's authoritarianism. And I guess all that stuff they said about Obamacare and subsidies and health care for millions of Americans, et cetera, they didn't actually mean it. And that this was more of just kind of a generalized anti-Trump protest, which makes even less sense because
it makes it dumber.
No actual specific goal.
Yeah. Now, Byron, I've talked to a number of Republicans who tell me that the Obamacare tax credits will be skinny down significantly, but they will emerge in some other form on the other side for middle-class people who have been screwed by the collapse of Obamacare. So, in other words, they were arguing about nothing because the Republicans already said, we're going to work with you on the tax credits. It's not going to be $1.5 trillion, and it's not going to be for people making $200,000 a year or $150,000 a year. Why didn't they just admit that up front?
Well, yeah, in my view, the reason they didn't admit that and the reason they stuck with it so long is because Obamacare, which is their premier policy achievement of the last half century, was at stake. Because take away this whole subsidies and emergency, et cetera, the cost of Obamacare is going up and up and up, around 30% this year. And what Republicans had predicted, which is that Obamacare would not make health care affordable. It would just be more and more and more expensive as there were more and more subsidies, was actually happening. And then Democrats took the first opportunity they had since the Obama administration, when they had the presidency, the House, and the Senate, that was in 2021 when Joe Biden became president, to add subsidies on top of the subsidies that are already in the law. They called these emergency subsidies because of the pandemic. They passed it for 1 year from 2021 to 22. Then they passed it again in 2022 for 3 years to expire on December 31st, 2025, this year. And these were on top of the actual subsidies that exist in law. Now, the COVID emergency, the Biden administration declared the COVID public health emergency over in May of 2023. So that's all gone. And so what Democrats saw was Obamacare sinking beneath higher and higher costs. And this is something that's unthinkable for them, that their policy, their greatest policy achievement of the past 50 years would just sink under rising costs. So I think that's why they fought so hard for more and more subsidies.
And Byron, I agree with that. I think we have to also realize, though, President Obama had 8 years in the White House. He accomplished three things. One was very important. He proved that anyone in America, including a black man, can win the presidency. And that is forever engraved in stone. It's a salute to the American Republic. The JCPOA, which is gone dead, and it took Donald Trump to kill off the Iranian nuclear program for real, and Obamacare, which is a hot, smoking mess. He didn't get anything done, did he?
Yes. If you go back to the debate in 2009 and 2010, first of all, the debate was Obamacare debate was all between Democrats. Remember, there was about a minute and a half where they had 60 votes in the Senate, 60 Democrats. Right. And they used that to pass Obamacare. So they were debating amongst themselves. Some of them wanted a single-payer health care like the National Health Service in Britain. Others wanted a more market-based solution. They were having these arguments, and they realized that they only had the political support. They didn't have this political support for a single-payer plan, but they had the political support to create these Obamacare markets and to get this going. And there was a liberal senator at the time named Tom Harkin from Arkansas, and from Iowa, and he said what they were doing was like a starter home. You build what you can build, and then you add a living room, and then you add another bathroom and a bedroom on the back, and then you add a second story. They viewed this as the beginning of what would become a national health care system. And so the idea was to grow and grow and grow, but it was an entirely partisan thing. Not a single Republican in the Senate voted for Obamacare in 2010 when it passed. And as I said before, Democrats knew that they could only expand it when they had the White House, the House, and the Senate. And they didn't have that again until January of 2021.
And God help us, they're never going to get it back. The only thing to do with that starter home is tear it down to the studs and start over, because it's a mess. It is an absolute disaster. Byron York, thank you so much for joining me. We'll continue to talk about the ongoing... A week ago, the Democrats were on top of the world, and now they're at the bottom of a ditch. And they did it to themselves. They would have won anyway, even if they passed the CR. Byron York, thank you. Follow him on X at Byron York. The holidays are upon us, and the holidays are forgiving. Unfortunately, a lot to cyber criminals. The holidays are for taking by cyber criminals. Cybercrime spikes during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Over half of U.S. shoppers worry about getting hacked. They worry about getting scammed, fake emails, bogus shipping notifications, phony online stores. It's ridiculous. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. All you can do is protect yourself as best you can, and that's WebRoot Total Protection, the all-in-one cybersecurity identity protection solution. And right now you get 60% off for a limited time when you go to webroot.com/Hewitt. Webroot.com/Hewitt. Real-time antivirus, firewall, web threat shield to block malicious sites before you visit them. This holiday season, you want WebRoot Total Protection. They're all-in-one product for individuals. One identity, 5 devices, or families up to 10 devices and 10 identities. You get 60% off WebRoot Total Protection. All you have to do is go to webroot.com/Hewitt, webroot.com/Hewitt. Do it today. Shop in security. And take your relief factor. I'm still taking 2 a day. My back is much better, much, much better. No overhead bin issues. My throat. Now, this doesn't do anything for the throat. Not at all. Laryngitis is an occupational hazard. Comes along twice a year, almost always after I've been on 5 airplanes with 3 connections in 4 days. Almost always. And I think it's Airplanes stale air. But I carry an curcumin resveratrol omega. I take it. And because I don't want to mess around with my back, I'm still taking it twice a day. Normally, I only take it once a day in the first hour, but I take it twice. You should get started now. A lot of shopping to do, a lot of boxes to do, a lot of decorations to put up. The holidays are upon us. Call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. Or go to their website, relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. I want to play again President Trump on Chuck Schumer last night with Laura Ingraham, cut number 9.
He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or are they just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But
that's it. He put his finger on it. It's Trump derangement syndrome. They walked into a box canyon. They had a big year coming anyway because it's the off year when the other party holds the Senate, the House, and the presidency. The tides of American politics are fixed. They were going to win. They won big. Hats off to them. And then they threw themselves down a well because of this stunt, this idiocy. Boy, were people mad in the airports. I talked to a TSA guy this morning in Manchester, New Hampshire. Said, "You gotten paid yet?" He said, "No, I think about next week." I said, "Well, thank you." And he said, I thank you for recognizing we aren't getting paid. It's ridiculous what they did. It was all Democrats. Just don't forget it. They were all Democrats. They screwed everyone, messed with the SNAP program, made our military sweat, made a lot of people, small businesses, basically miss payroll. Thank you, Democrats. I've got laryngitis, but I'm pushing on because I've got Amit Segal as well. Amit is one of the most influential, if not the most influential journalist in Israel. He is sort of a combination of Brit Hume and Matt Continetti, for those of you who want to place him in the American spectrum. Serious guy, very well respected by the center and the left, but definitely on the center right. And I like to say Nadav Eyal is Dan Balls and Haviv is Charles Krautheimer, but Amit's the guy who actually knows the politics and does the reporting. Amit, welcome. I want to ask you at first, do Israeli talk show hosts actually read the books when they do the interviews with the authors?
No, first of all, thanks for the compliments. Usually the joke says that they read the cover, at least.
Yeah. Well, I actually read the book. I inhaled it, in fact. And so I think we're going to have to do this twice. We'll get part 1 done today. Bibi Netanyahu told you after the horrors of 10/7, it's recounted on page 202 in a call at 4 a.m., listen to me, listen well, never go into politics. So, Amit, he told you that. He must have been thinking you were going to go into politics. Are you ever going to go into politics?
So I'll tell you something. There is an Israeli peculiarity, according to which 1/5 of the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, consists of former journalists. Now, I think that in the entire US Senate, there isn't a single former journalist. But in Israel, since we are so news addict, because news is part of the existence of the country, because security crises happen on a daily, weekly basis, so gradually, once you report the news enough time, people actually confuse between you and the information you gather. So if you report about security, it makes you fit for office, for the defense ministry. If you report politics, you can become a politician. So for your question, it's not something that I'm considering as we speak. But for me, what was more interesting was, yeah, you got me.
Good political answer. Good political answer.
Your show. No, but what I'm trying to say is that, Netanyahu is one of the most experienced politicians in the Western world. However, if you were to ask Prime Minister Netanyahu, what's your profession to write on your business card? He would say statesman, not politician. For him, politics is only the process, not the policy itself. However, I think he enjoys the process. And when he told me that 2 days after October 7th, for me, it was a shock because it proved me something that I suspected, but I was not sure about, that every prime minister's term always ends with a tragedy. And Netanyahu was no exception.
It's not over yet, but you're right about thus far. Will he overcome that in the next elections, do you think, or will he be mercilessly beaten up over 10/7?
I'm surprised that it's even a question because from Israel's history, what could be learned till October 7th was that a security failure would necessarily lead to a failure in terms of the election. The Israeli public cares mainly not about economy like in the States or in the UK, but about security because it touches the very existence of the country. I think what people really should understand about Israel is that no matter where you are in Israel as we speak, in Jerusalem, like myself, or in Haifa, Tel Aviv, Sderot, you are always 80 minutes the most by car from someone, a terrorist with a rifle, an RPG missile, or a bomb that wants to kill you specifically. So, and usually it's less than 80 minutes, as we all learned on October 7th. So if someone failed to actually live up to his standards to keep the country's safety, it would necessarily lead him to lose the election. However, I guess that Netanyahu's survival so far emanates from the fact that he was responsible not only for the failure of October 7th, but for the achievements that followed. The attack in Iran, on Iran, the defeating Hezbollah, winning Hamas, bringing back the hostages, the fall of Syria. So I would say it's too early to call.
Too early to call. Now, I like this book so much. I sent it to Dr. Larry Arnn, president of Hillsdale College, and I said, you'll get in the introduction a comparative analysis of the United Kingdom, the United States, and Israeli politics. And by far, we've got the best system, I think, the Americans, because yours is crazy and doesn't have a written constitution. Britain has a constitution that's unwritten. But did you intend that? Did you intend to write a comparative study of the three systems in 30 pages? It's really brief.
Thank you so much. Well, I studied in the UK some 15 years ago, and my family is from the States, although my Israeli accent doesn't hint at this. But I always had hard times explaining my family or my fellow students what is this Israeli system. And you know, when you try to explain something to someone, always use local terms for explaining a new phenomenon. So I tried to explain them that the Likud is like the conservatives or the Republican Party, and I failed. So I said, I'll sit down, I'll try to get into American shoes, and I'll try to explain them all the peculiarities. And I think even Israelis are not fully aware of the complexity of the system.
It reminded me when I was done with that of that famous line about the British Empire, that it was acquired in a fit of absent-mindedness. Your political system was acquired in a fit of utter desperation. They just had to get something done, so David Ben-Gurion came up with this system. And you've tried to change it, I learned, a couple of times in the course of reading It's Noon, the call at 4 a.m. And nobody is really committed to changing it because it's been working decently. Is that fair? Do you ever expect a major overhaul?
I expect it, but it's not going to be the American system. The Israeli society is complex. It consists of a minority that officially, part of it, oppose the very existence of the country. And it consists of immigrants from 72 countries, most of which the lion's share is not democratic. So you have to create something that would give everyone a voice. Now, on the axis of representation and governability, those are the two axes of every democratic system. The Israeli system definitely, obviously belongs more to the representation over the governability. And I think we should actually move the meter a bit to something in the middle, because Israel is a country that cannot be governed. I'll give you an example. If you analyze the capacity of the prime minister's office, the prime minister himself is way stronger than any US president, because prime ministers in Israel control the parliament. President Trump, most of the time, does not control the Congress. But in Israel, it's the other way around. However, President Trump knows that he's here till January 21st, 2029, no matter what. Whereas Prime Minister Netanyahu always knows that on Monday at 4 p.m., his government can fall. because this is the time in the week of the no confidence vote. So if you're a prime minister in Israel, you have to bear in mind two things simultaneously. One is top diplomatic efforts, negotiating between Zelensky and Putin, talking to President Trump, handling the war. And at the very same time, you have to hear the voice of the ticking clock to Monday at 4 p.m. And prime ministers, they tend to forget one of the two ingredients, fell faster than they thought.
Well, there are so many stories of falling and failing in here. I want to ask you a hypothetical, Amit. You've covered all these prime ministers now, and you don't do it chronologically, which I appreciate, by the way. It makes the reader work a little bit harder, but that's good for the reader. Taking Ben-Gurion and Netanyahu off the table, if Amit Segal was going to be sentenced to life in a cell with one of these prime ministers, and we'll take Golda Meir off the table as well, which of the others would you say, yeah, put me in with that guy for the rest of my life?
Well, if cigarettes are allowed, so I guess Prime Minister Rabin. He was a shy leader, but he had I mean, he was someone very interesting to talk to. If cigarettes are not allowed, I would say that as a person, someone to spend your time, someone that is not going to steal your food, Yair Lapid. But in terms of history, Menachem Begin. Menachem Begin was the founding father of the Israeli right wing, and he was a commander of a Jewish underground that fought against the British mandate. So I guess Begin would suffice.
All right, pause it right there. I spoke to Amit for a half hour today. He's going to come back for another half hour. The Call at 4 a.m. is one of the most interesting books I've ever read about Israel. I've read a lot of books about Israel because it's really about the political skullduggery that goes on in the business of building a coalition to govern a superpower. Probably our most important ally in the world. Not probably, certainly our most important ally in the world is Israel. And this book takes you inside. A Call at 4 a.m. by Amit Segal. I'll be right back with veteran Army Specialist Jason Wheeler on this Veterans Day edition. Don't forget thefund.org. Joined now by Jason and Christy Wheeler. I don't know where they are. He's Army. Where are you guys found today? Where do we find you?
Copper Canyon, Texas, sir.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, you have no football down there, so I'm glad that you get to talk to me a little bit about that. When were you wounded, Jason, and how did the fund help you?
I was wounded in early of 2002 in a parachute accident, and basically I got my medically discharged in 2004, and I got picked up from the fund, and they've been helping me ever since. So it's a little over a decade easy.
Now, what's interesting is that the fund became the fund. They combined Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund a few years ago, but you got started as an Army guy when it was the Semper Fi Fund, and it's been seamless throughout?
That is correct, sir. I'm actually a United States Navy veteran, Gulf War veteran, and that's how I got tied in with the Simplify correctly right away, and America's Fund being tied in with the Army.
And Christine, I love it when spouses are with us over the years because they have a different view of the fund entirely, but it's always good. What's your opinion of the fund?
I love it. Let me tell you, they have helped our families for a solid decade. And as far as the wife, the caregiver, the love that we receive from the fund has been incredible, and it allows us. Every time I go to a caregiver retreat, I come back renewed, refreshed, with more friends, and to be around other women who are doing the same thing I'm doing. And it is life-changing for me and allows me to be a better caregiver and wife to my husband.
Can you explain a caregiver retreat? And Jason, I apologize. Whenever I get a wife who will tell us about this, I want the world to know that the fund takes care of both halves of the Wounded Warriors family, whether the spouse is a man or a woman. I am very glad to have Christine with us. I'll come back to you, Jason, but what's a caregiver retreat like, Christine?
You know, they always pick the most beautiful, calm places to visit. And when you arrive, you get your own hotel room, and you get to be around other women and some male caregivers as well. To spend time with these other people and to learn. They always have such incredible classes on self-care, on understanding your veteran and their issues, on how to take care of ourselves better. We can prepare to have a happier home. So I have never come back without a whole set of new friends, and it is truly like a family. And these are Jennifer, I'm dealing with something. I've got a whole army of women right there ready to help me through it. So it is an amazing experience, and I think very necessary for our families.
And Jason, after you were injured, what were the nature of your wounds, and how did the fund help you out before they got to the caregiver retreat part?
Basically, yeah, I did limb salvage for about 13 years. I was injured from my right leg was rotated out 32 degrees. My hip was rotated out 10 degrees. My L4 and L5 would crush down on each other. I have injuries from C2 to C7 in my neck and had those infused now. And hit my head, which basically gave me a traumatic brain injury. With those injuries alone, that made me wheelchair bound. And then, so being down here in the Dallas VA the last decade, I was denied until 7 years ago for a wheelchair, and I have no legs. Both of my legs were amputated in 2015. So basically, I don't know how they expect you to get around, and it's very frustrating, and it becomes frustrating for the whole.
On here, we lost you
I
there.
can tell you the blessings that Carrie Gross and the Simplify Fund has done for us has just been unbelievable. Not alone just the wheelchair. We're a Tunnel to Towers recipient home, and Simplify Fund actually donates a huge portion of your home to help you out to get into your home, which is absolutely amazing. And like I said, with the caregiver retreat for the women, it's absolutely amazing because she needs to, regenerate energy again and reset all her buttons. And that does it for us. Mm-hmm. And we just went to a bilateral above the knee retreat for guys. And we had guys from, basically from Colorado all the way over. And it was amazing. I met a nice guy named James, and I'm actually having osteointegration surgery this coming Wednesday. And I actually have to go down to San Antonio, which is 5 hours away from us. I have to, worry about a hotel, gas to get down there, covered by the VA. It's done on my own insurance. And with having a back like the Simplify Marcus Fund, they're actually helping us get a hotel so my wife and my son can stay down there for a few days while I recover in ICU, and then, able to come home after this procedure. And then we literally have to go through, after the February procedure, we have to be down there during the summertime for 3 months for physical rehab. And that's down in San Antonio. We already have a home, so they make it easy for.
Amazing what this fund
does. Just, I can't even tell you the blessings that they provide for our family.
Oh, you just did. Both you and Christine did. And a whole bunch of people will be praying for you all through Wednesday and for continued success in your recovery. And I want to thank you both, Jason and Christine. That's amazing. And would that more couples would come on our Veterans Day show to do what you just did for thefund.org. Thank you both, and prayers for you tomorrow. And I want to remind you about all the details of the fund. Their website is thefund.org. That combines the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund. Semper Fi Fund is for Marines and Corpsmen. America's Fund for all the other enlisted men and women in the other branches. Their phone number, if you want to just call up and say, I want to make a donation, leave a message if they've gone home for the day on Veterans Day, 1-760-725-3680. 1-760-725-3680. If you want to write a check, you can send it to the fund at 825 College Boulevard, Suite 102, PMB 609, Peter Mary Baker 609, Oceanside, California 92057. Very, very well spent. Boy, what a great organization. Look up their board of directors over at thefund.org. Don't forget their CFC number is 11459. 11459. Okay, let me tell you about the sponsor of our show, Relief Factor. I took it in hour number 1. I took it in hour number 2, and I'm going to hear. We haven't got injuries like Jason. We haven't got wounds like the other people I've been talking about, these wonderful, amazing people. But if you are getting older or you're an exercise person, you're going to feel minor aches and pains. If you did the 5 plane rides in 4 days in 3 states, 4 states, you might have a little crick in your neck or the dreaded overhead bin. That's where Relief Factor comes in. Don't take over the counter. Take Relief Factor every day. I carry an curcumin, resveratrol, omega. The only supplement I have taken for more than 20 years. The only one I've taken every day for 12 years. I want to assure you, try it and you'll like it. Call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. 1-800-4-RELIEF. $19.95 is a 3-week starter supply. And don't let my voice make you think it doesn't work just because my voice isn't working today. It'll be back tomorrow, the next day. Relief Factor works every day. 1-800-4-RELIEF or go to their website, relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. I'm Hugh Hewitt with laryngitis, but, the show must go on. I spoke with Amit Segal earlier today. The entire first part of our interview, 30 minutes long, is at my YouTube channel, Hugh Hewitt YouTube, which I just checked, has 98,800 subscribers. A subscription doesn't cost anything, but once you hit the magic 100,000, the algorithm takes all these wonderful clips and pushes them out further and further. So please go like and subscribe. I do read your comments there. I read my comments at the Universe. Can't say that I go to the Hugh Hewitt mailbox at the website. Dwayne does that. But I do like to hear from you. I know I sound terrible. Thanks to all my friends at the Universe for saying, boy, you sound bad. I know that. Happens once a year, like clockwork. Good news is I got here early and got together all these great clips. And let's play Donald Trump talking about Mike Johnson and John Thune, cut number 14.
And we're also honored to be joined by a great man. He will go down as a great man someday. Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker. Wherever you may be, Speaker. We love you, Speaker. There he is, right there. Good. Got a good location. He always gets a good location. And congratulations to you and to John and to everybody on a very big victory. We're opening up our country. Should have never been closed. Should have never been closed. I want to thank Secretary Doug Collins, who's outstanding.
I was in Manchester this morning. I walked out of the hotel at 3:45. It was brisk, and it was a little bit wet. It rained all day yesterday. We had a wonderful time at dinner with Drew and Beverly, Michael. We had a great dinner, and they walked me through the crazy New Hampshire political constitution. 400 people in the House of Delegates, 24 senators, an executive council of 5, and 1 governor who serves for 2 years. They love their politics in New Hampshire. Oh, they love their politics in New Hampshire. And someday when Howie Carr retires, I hope I take over his slot in the afternoons. I was on in the mornings everywhere up there, but I moved to the afternoons because, well, Fetching Mrs. Hewitt thought that was a good choice, and I typically defer. Let me tell you about Consumer Cellular, one of our great sponsors. I have one more veteran coming up, Marine Corps Lance Corporal Ed Lyons. Before that, I do want to tell you about Consumer Cellular because you can save money today, and affordability is on everyone's mind. You need to call 1-800-411-4454. And remember my code, HUGH25. That saves you $5 a month off your first 5 monthly invoices. Why switch to Consumer Cellular? It's pretty simple. Service without sacrifice. Savings without sacrifice. You get the same great cell service with Consumer Cellular than do with any of the big cell companies, but you pay a lot less. If you're one of those people who want unlimited data, here's a special deal. If you're over 50, they know you don't use a lot of data. They'll say an unlimited data line for $60 a month. 2 lines, in fact, for $60 a month. A total of $60 a month if you're 50 and over. So you can go to HughHewitt.com. You can go to consumercellular.com/Hewitt. consumercellular.com/Hewitt. Or call 1-800-411-4454. 1-800-411-4454. And if you've heard me say this for a few weeks, it's starting to get on your nerves. You know why it's getting on your nerves? You know that you're throwing away money. You're throwing money out the window. Don't do that. Save money for the 2026 campaign cycle. Got a lot of great candidates running. So go and start saving that money, put it aside, and dedicate it to keeping the House, the Senate, away from the blue people who make no sense, away from Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Keep the House, keep the Senate, but we got to get you to save some money first. Do it with Consumer Cellular, 1-800-411-4454. President Trump was talking about veterans today. He said this, cut number 12.
From the very beginning of our country, our great American flag has always been shielded and protected by a special cast of citizens who has stepped forward to safeguard liberty's cause. When danger came, when duty called, when Almighty God asked, who had the will and the strength to defend the land of the free, each and every American veteran stood up and said, "Here I am, send me, here I am." They've come from every corner of this nation, from the cornfields of Iowa to the hills and valleys of California, from the steel towns of Pennsylvania to the vast plains of Texas.
Oh, he should have said the steel towns of Ohio, but it's still a very good speech on Veterans Day. When I come back, one more of our great veterans, Corporal Ed Lyons, Lance Corporal Ed Lyons from the Marine Corps, as I last two segments dedicate to the fund.org. Joined now by Lance Corporal Ed Lyons, United States Marine Corps, retired. Lance Corporal, welcome. Good Veterans Day to you. Where do I find you today?
Hey, good afternoon. I am at my home on the Space Coast in Mims, Florida.
Okay, the Space Coast. And how long have you been out of the service?
I was officially retired from the Marine Corps in August of 2015.
When were you wounded, Lance Corporal? And how were you wounded?
I was wounded on November 25th, 2009 in Helmand Province, Afghanistan, by an IED conducting counterinsurgency operations at that time.
And the nature of your injuries?
I am a transradial amputee on the left side, so I'm amputated below the elbow on my left arm, and I had several penetrating shrapnel wounds to my abdomen, as well as a traumatic brain injury.
And so how did you connect with the fund, and how have they helped you in your recovery?
So it's interesting. The fund has always been there from the time that I woke up back in the States at National Naval Medical Center, Bethesda in 2009. They were just there from day one with my parents and my family. And they've helped me every step of the way since then. I mean, apologies. From making it possible for my mom and dad to be there for a significant amount of time while I was recovering in the hospital, providing them with lodging and compensating my father's employment so that I could have them there during recovery was huge. Ever since then, once I became ambulatory and started walking again, a specific memory that comes to mind was actually the first time I ever left the hospital grounds was with a member of the fund, or Semper Fi fund at that time, my case manager at that time, Don Van Skyke. I lost a lot of weight. I was under 100 pounds due to my injuries, and I didn't really have anything that fit. And the doctors had said, I was able to start walking again. And so she took me out of the hospital. We went for a walk to a PX or an MWR, and the fund bought me my first set of clothes that fit properly for my size. So they've been there from there all the way until, I was discharged from the Marine Corps. From there, throughout my employment with the Department of Veterans Affairs, they've celebrated the birth of my wife and our 3 children with us, and they've reconnected me with individuals that I served with and even the medical team that operated on me in Afghanistan to save my life.
You know, I got to say, Lance Corporal, I tell the audience every year that the veterans I talk to are very confident that the fund will always be there. Do you share that confidence that it's going to be there when you need them?
Absolutely, sir. I mean, it's been 16 years already, and I still have different case managers and veteran leads all on speed dial who are there at a moment's notice anytime I need anything, whether it's just to talk or if I'm struggling with anything related to any of my injuries or disabilities from that.
And I usually ask our fund clients, much red tape or any red tape, or does the fund move pretty quick?
I'd say there's no red tape. The fund moves quickly. Anytime I've ever reached out to them or needed something, they've responded within hours if I didn't get an answer immediately. And then they just make things happen right then and there.
And how old are your kids now?
My oldest son is turning 11, and our youngest is 3.
Well, that is fabulous. I hope they celebrate Veterans Day with you. Do you have a good Veterans Day celebration planned? Is that an annual deal?
We mostly stay home on Veterans Day, and we like to watch The Patriot together as a family and kind of just barbecue and, be together here in our home and celebrate that we get the chance to be together and, be a family because of all the men and women who served before me and continue to serve after.
That's wonderfully put. I'm going to overlook the fact that you're a Patriots fan who beat my Browns a couple of weeks ago pretty badly, but you managed to draft a quarterback and we haven't. So thanks again, Lance Corporal. Have a wonderful Veterans Day with your family, and I appreciate your testimony on behalf of the fund today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. You too.
I got to say, I love these shows. I love doing them every year on Veterans Day live, and I pre-recorded the Memorial Day show, and we do a lot more, but I want to give you all the details one more time. The easiest way to contribute to the fund, which has raised and spent $350 million on behalf of 38,000 veterans and 100,000 plus family members since their founding in 2003 by 5 Marine Corps wives around a table in San Diego. Thefund.org. Call 1-760-725-3680. That's 1-760-725-3680. They sacrifice a lot for us. We can give them a few dollars. The snail mail, if you like to write a check, you want to put it in the mail, make it out to the fund. That's all you have to do is the fund. Send it to 825 College Boulevard. 825 College Boulevard. Next line is Suite 102. Suite 102. And then PMB 609. Peter Mary Baker. PMB 609. Oceanside, California. 92057. If you want, you can put Hewitt Show in the bottom right so they know where the money is coming from. They're not a sponsor. We do this for them, for these veterans who have done everything for us. And I want you to remember the CFC number if you're in the military or the civilian workforce on the federal government. Combined federal campaign starts soon. Workplace deduction is available to you at 11459. CFC number 11459. That's the best way to give. CFC number 11459. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with the case workers for the fund on both coasts. I'm Hugh Hewitt on this Veterans Day. I want to end as we began with Beth Birchfield and Christy Stover, who are amazing women, case managers on both coasts. And it's been great. I've talked to a half dozen veterans, very different needs, very extraordinary people. Do you ever get tired, Beth?
I mean, of course we get tired, but the benefits outweigh being tired. It is such an honor to be able to serve those who have served our country. So it doesn't matter if we get tired, we always want to be there for them.
I want to salute you ladies and your case managers, the amount that you do that is not seen nor ever heard about. And you always talk about You're vets. You never talk about yourselves, but you folks are saints. Christy, we got 2 minutes. Let's make a direct ask of our audience. Why should they give to the fund?
Because the need doesn't stop. When somebody's injured in combat, there are costs that occur at the time of being injured, but there are also costs that come later on when you have to, as you said, change vehicles. You have to get different medical care for the injuries. Once that technology or the protocols change, we want our veterans to be able to take advantage of the best that our doctors have to offer. So the need doesn't change because the cost is always there. And in some cases, it's always increasing.
So do more than thank people for their service this Veterans Day. Make a contribution to an organization you can trust. As I said at the beginning of the show, they are the highest rated. The equal of one other organization has the same kind of rating that the fund.org does because it's run. It was set up by the spouses of Marines, and boy, is it run that way. Look at, when you go to the fund.org, look at their board, and you'll know why. They've got an amazing board. Beth, I want to close the program this way with a thank you to you two for setting this up every year. It's not easy. Is it getting easier or harder to get the vets to step up and tell their story?
I do not think it's hard. They are so gracious with us. They are always willing and able to speak on our behalf. And it always kind of brings, it touches my heart every time I hear their stories. And I just love that they're willing to do that for us.
Well, I will see you both, or one of you at least, on Memorial Day. We do this twice a year, but I want to let everyone know again, the phone number for the fund is 1-760-725-3680. That's 1-760-725-3680. Just go to thefund.org, though, thefund.org. The one thing they don't do, they do not overwhelm you with text messages. They do not beat down your door. They are a very wonderful steward of your funds, and the people you get it to deserve our honor and our support, and our ladies, these ladies and their colleagues deserve our thanks. Beth and Christy, thank you so much. And to everyone out there who's a veteran, I want to thank you for your service. Civilians like me don't really know what it is to be that or do that, but we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Veterans Day.